If you've been putting off photographing the Milky Way because you don't think your camera is good enough, this video is for you. Because here's the thing, that camera sitting in your bag right now, it's probably more capable than you think. And the reason why most people don't get a great Milky Way photo isn't the gear. It's that no one explained the process clearly enough for them to trust their gear and go out and shoot. Today, I'm walking you through what actually matters when it comes to gear, what doesn't, and why some of the most meaningful Milky Way photos that I've made in the last few years were taken on a camera that cost less than $400 used. When people first start looking into Milky Way photography, the content they find online almost always leads them to the same place. Gear lists with full-frame sensors, fast prime lenses, cameras that cost more than a car. Yeah, I get it. When you're new to something, gear feels like the answer because it's concrete. I buy this, things get better. But you can't buy confidence or knowledge, at least not directly. But this is the harm that I see that comes from that narrative. It stops people before they even start. I hear it all the time. Oh, Kristine, I'd love to try this. I don't have the right equipment. And in reality, you probably do. The gap between an entry-level camera and a professional full-frame body matters far less than the gap between understanding the process and not understanding it. Gear is a multiplier, but if you don't have the foundation in place, there's nothing to multiply. Let me show you what I mean. This photo was taken on a Nikon D5600 with an 18 to 55 millimeter kit lens. This camera right here. It's one of my favorite images that I've made recently. This camera belonged to my mother. She passed away a few years ago, and I'm grateful that I get to use her camera. Partly I get to feel that connection to her when I use it, and partly because I get to show other people exactly what this camera is capable of. The D5600 is a crop sensor camera. It has a kit lens on it that's not a fast prime. And by the spec sheet standards on most of the astrophotography content online, this setup shouldn't be able to produce results like this. But it does, because technique and knowledge and the ability to apply that knowledge to your unique circumstances that you're shooting in will take you farther than a gear upgrade almost every time. Let's talk about what does matter when it comes to gear. My philosophy is that you max out the current capabilities of what you have. Only then you can upgrade. Open up your wallet, buy some gear. But I hear you asking me, like, Kristine, how do I know that I have the gear right now that will work? So here are the three things that are worth paying attention to when it comes to Milky Way photography. Number one is your camera body. For Milky Way photography, you need a camera that lets you shoot in manual mode and has a sensor that is at least micro four thirds, so that's Olympus, etc., an APS-C like this, or larger, full frame. And besides that, it needs to have an ISO that goes up to at least 3200. That's it. Basically, any entry-level digital SLR or mirrorless camera that's made in the last 10 years can do this. This Nikon D5600 can do it. The Canon Rebel series can do it. You're not locked out of this genre by your camera body. Where full-frame bodies, like this Nikon Z6 II, have a real advantage is that they have a larger physical sensor, meaning that they physically capture more light. They generally handle low light noise better. But here's what I want you to hear. That advantage that comes from the full frame matters the most when you've already hit the ceiling of what your current camera can do. Most people haven't even come close to that ceiling yet. Number two is your lens. This is where a little bit more attention is worthwhile. You want the widest and fastest lens that you can get. Now, when I say a fast lens, I mean a lower f-stop number, like f2.8 or f1.4, because that lets in more light and gathers more signal, which really matters in night photography. If you have a kit lens like this is the 18 to 55 millimeter kit lens that comes with the D5600. It will go to f3.5 to f4. That's still workable when you're shooting wide angle, depending on the lens. You can use a higher ISO when you're shooting, And then the noise that comes from that can be mitigated by stacking, which is a key skill I recommend every night photographer learn. If you do want to invest in one piece of gear to make your night photography better, a fast wide-angle lens is the first thing that I would recommend. I have a 14mm here. Now this is a chunkier 14mm because it is a Sigma 1.4, but there are Rokinon and Samyang 2.8 lenses that get a lot of light and are very, very affordable. Number 3, lastly, your tripod. This one is non-negotiable. For Milky Way photography, you're shooting long exposures, which means any movement during the shot ruins the image. A stable tripod is the one piece of gear I will tell you to never compromise on. But it doesn't have to be expensive, it just has to be solid. So this one here is a carbon fiber, which is much more expensive, but this is a smaller travel tripod, which is still very sturdy. This is a larger tripod, aluminum, not carbon fiber, so it's heavier. I got this one used for a very good price. So you can get a good tripod very easily, and it will be the best thing that you can do for your night photography. So our minimum viable kit, it is a digital SLR or interchangeable lens camera with a minimum ISO of 3200, a wide-ish angle lens, and a stable tripod. That is your starting point. Everything else you need to get started creating beautiful Milky Way photos, that happens up here. I've seen thousands of first Milky Way photo attempts. And when it doesn't work out, people often come to me and say, I need a better camera, Kristine. But then when I look at the image, almost every time the issue isn't with the gear. It's one of a few things. So the location had too much light pollution. They don't know how to check for that. The timing was off and the Milky Way core wasn't actually visible, or they were looking in the wrong direction. Or the settings were just a copy of something they read on the internet, but they didn't work for their gear. None of those are camera problems. All of them are solvable with knowledge. And this is why I teach the way I do. Because when you understand why something works, not just what settings to use, you can make decisions in the field. You're not guessing. You're not copying someone else's settings, hoping for the best. You're applying your knowledge to the situation at hand. And that changes everything. The camera? It's a tool. Yes, a very good tool, but the person behind the camera, the one who planned the shot, who chose the location, who understands the gear, who made the intentional decisions about the image, that's where the photo actually comes from. I say this often, and I will say it again here. Only when you reach the limits of your gear is it time to upgrade. And you're probably not there yet. Now, because I know what the next question is, I get it every time that I do this work. People say, okay, Kristine, but can my camera and my lens actually do it? So I've put together a camera compatibility spreadsheet. It goes through a wide range of camera bodies, basically from the last 15 years, and tells you if it will work or not for Milky Way photography. It's free, and you can download it just by clicking in the link below. Here's what I want you to take away from today. The night sky, it's not something that is reserved for people with professional gear. It's not reserved with people who have been doing this for years, or people who live near these iconic, beautiful landscapes. It's available to anyone who's willing to slow down, learn the process, and show up for it. Your camera? It's probably already ready to photograph the Milky Way. The question is if you are. And if you're curious about what the first steps look like, start with the spreadsheet, see where you stand, then come back and let's talk about what's next. I'll see you out there.